Hi, I'm Spaceboy.
And I'm Surlana.
And you're listening to Spaceboy Universe
on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.
This is Patrick Stat Spore, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations. I'm Spaceboy, and across from me is the lovely Surlana, and this is Spaceboy Universe. It is January 12th, 2018, and tonight we are on show number 3.15, and it is Topics from the Universe. That's right, but of course, as always, follow us on Twitter. That's at the SBU Universe. Follow Surlana at Surlana. Follow me, Spaceboy Music, at Spaceboy Music. Of course, hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SBU Universe and hashtag Space Cadets. In addition to Twitter, you can find us all over social media. Just search for Spaceboy Universe. Hey, Space Cadets, you'll want to check out the YouTube channel. That's right, we do more than the archive of shows there. There's video content from SB Music, video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. And one day we'll have some more new content coming over the horizon. It's just a matter of taking out the cattle prod and moving things along. But make sure that you click that subscribe button and click that bell to be notified anytime new content is available. Can't catch a show live? No problemo. Take SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartMedia, and Spotify. And I hate it when you start laughing because it throws me off.
Sorry.
Makes me wonder, what did I mess up now?
No, I'm not paying attention to you at all.
Oh, so it's just another day in my life. So on that magical note, let me bring in the significant other, yes, the love of my life, the wonderful Surlana.
Could you say that with a straight face?
Probably not, but I have
just a short reminder. You can always chat with us live at when we broadcast live through Spreaker.com, so you can find Spaceboy Universe there, and there's a live chat when you go to the show. It's embedded on our website, spaceboyuniverse.com, on the front page. You'll see the embedded stream. There's a talk bubble you can click and get in that way, but you can also chat with us live from spaceboyuniverse.com/chat.html, or just look for it on our menus, SBU chat. And we have a chat there where you can actually post links and animated GIFs and emojis. And you've got the ability to put your own avatar or image next to your username. So there's a little more customization there if you wish to. And I can see Bob and K28 are already having a great time over there in our chat embedded on our website, spaceboyuniverse.com. Click on our menu, SBU chat.
Bev has just popped in there.
So that's just a little reminder. And the cool thing about the embedded chat is if I type the word shop, it will link you to Spaceboy Universe merchandise.
Space swag.
Space swag. I could have done that too, but, probably not as intuitive. But Bev loves this chat.
Yeah, she didn't have to create a Google account to get in here.
Bless her heart. But I like Bob's name. That's pretty funny. That cracks me up. But yeah, and I don't think you have to register with the chat program on our embedded chat, do you? I don't think you have to register. I think you just jump in as a guest.
Jump in as a guest,
change your name.
And change your name. I like K28's avatar.
Yeah, he's showing off. He's got an actual photo of you and him side by side. That's too funny. So, why are we on an hour earlier?
Well, I'm glad you asked that
I kind of
question.
like it. Kind of wonder if this ought to be the direction we should go.
Well, we were encouraging people tonight, since we're going to be an hour earlier than our normal scheduled 9 to midnight, to come check out Solaris Blue Raven. Her guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV. Yes, we just had him on recently, but, I always enjoy hearing Solaris Blue Raven's point of view and her questions, and she always makes for an interesting show, and so we're encouraging people to come hang out with us as we gravitate after this show to go check her out.
Well, it's midnight their time, so it's 11 p.m. our time?
Yes.
Okay, so I get why you did it now. Sometimes I wonder what it'd be like if you downloaded one of her shows she's hosting and then slowed it down. What she would sound like slower, like vaporwave.
I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, but you remember the movie Nut Job, or not Nut Job, but hold on. It was over the hedge, where the squirrel.
Please don't Google that. Be careful.
Where the squirrel drank some soda and everything seemed to slow down from his perspective.
I remember that. I think that was coffee. And I think it was that Red Riding Hood anime.
Well, that was a different one. Actually,
everything slowed down to his speed.
Right.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, but that just, Solaris I've always said she speaks at a cadence that's so...
Like it's digital downloads. Like, boom.
Yes. But, we're showing our respects for her by adjusting our time period.
Because we want to hear her program mainly.
I know that. And let's point out that over the many years, have we ever done this before for anyone?
No, because I don't really listen to other podcasts or broadcasts.
I know you're about to say that we care about.
No, I'm just saying the time is precious because, books exist.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And I'm about to go into some intensive video making where I'm taking some stock videos and I'm going to try to customize them and make them somewhat interesting to Spaceboy music audio files. So this is going to be a fun little thing to do. That's what I've been doing the last 3 days. I've been getting... I guess what I'm going to do is I'll take a snippet and just replicate it and then, do some things on some other layers and we'll see. I think that's actually going to be quite fun. And the nice thing is you're not going to be involved because I'm not going to let you. So, but that's something to look forward to. I don't know if that's... You'll see them as I do them or we save them all and they get posted together or something. I don't know. We'll have to see what Spaceboy says about that. But if you'd like to get into the back and forth tonight, right?
Yes.
Let me get to the one that might actually set you off, or maybe you don't care, Spaceboy. Why Star Trek 4 has been canceled.
This is a good subject.
So I'm reading from ScreenRant.com.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount recently made a decision to indefinitely shelve Star Trek 4. Well... this is a reboot that J.J. Abrams brought back.
Bad Robot, yeah.
And he made the cast more youthful. And it got pretty good reviews. It earned $257.7 million. That's the first one, I guess, the Abrams one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the highest grossing Trek movie of all time, believe it or not. It made Trek accessible to a new generation of fans while kind of upsetting the traditional ones like me. But the sequels were kind of meh. The Khan one was really sad.
They waited too long after the initial first one to make the sequel.
However, Into Darkness was still a success. It made $467.3 million at the worldwide box office. Star Trek Beyond was the 50th anniversary, so that was a big deal. That had a nice feel-good quality to it, and they did a callback to the canon Star Trek at the very, very end with a photograph of the original cast. So, one of the reasons they say Star Trek Beyond underperformed, which is sad because it was the best one of that reboot. It only earned like $340 million worldwide, although it had $185 million, so they at least made some money on it. They did break even. Simon Pegg blamed a lackluster marketing campaign, and I think that he's correct.
And we're talking about Into Darkness.
Mm-hmm. No, we're talking about Beyond, Star Trek Beyond, the very last one. But Into Darkness did not help that, so that you had this bad taste in your mouth, you know.
Well, let's keep in mind that at that time period, going into that last movie they just did, you had the Axanar issue where Paramount was suing a fan film, and it ultimately alienated a lot of the fans because they went after.
You think it spills over into the movieverse, that kind of stuff?
Yes, I mean just look at Star Wars. I mean, you slap the fans around, they're not going to pay to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Because they're let's put it. I've said this before. The kids have grown up, meaning, people like my age have grown up, and we've got money to go see these movies or to dish out money to pay for whatever crap that they're shilling because we want to be a part of the experience. That's the hardcore fans that you should not alienate. And Star Trek did that with going after the fan films because the fan films were only paying homage to what they love. And
would you believe a different film might have affected it? They said something else is in play here. When Disney released a little film called Star Wars: The Force Awakens, it shattered every box office record in the book, received critical praise, and revived that franchise.
Okay, you know why it did so well? Is because after 30 plus years,
the first one.
We were waiting for a sequel.
But they're saying it had an impact on Trek because there's been a rivalry.
Well, there's always been a rivalry between Trek and Star Wars, yes.
They have been compared endlessly, There's apparent return of the former, but ended all the latter. Abrams' Trek movies were widely considered to be Star Trek and Star Wars clothing. I don't see that. Relying more on pacing and style rather than the traditional way they do things. It angered the purists like me. Star Wars started up again and got into the business of annual tent poles, and that's what a tent pole is, like your big movie, for your whole franchise or whatever. So they're saying only a handful of films in theaters with multiple Marvel installments, DC, Star Wars. Trek didn't have much of a place in being relevant anymore. So they also say Star Trek 4's director moved on.
Yes.
From this.
And quite frankly, the deal that Paramount had with CBS was that they purchased a license to produce Star Trek for what they did. Now, a part of that, it had to be 25% different from the original Trek, and it couldn't be a one-for-one, which that's why a lot of fans were alienated because it didn't represent the prime timeline. So with the deal that they made, Paramount that is, and Bad Robot, is that they had to produce a movie so often to keep that license. Well, that license, I believe, expired back in September. So at this point, the Kelvin universe is dead. So to answer your question initially about the cancellation of Star Trek 4, I'm excited in the sense that we're not going to get any more Kelvin universe. Now, where does this lead us into
We're not
the
done with the things that killed it. The last thing another thing that killed it is Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth dropped out. And the only thing I got to say to that is probably Chris Pine's eyebrows are just too heavy to carry on. And another thing that killed it...
Let me respond to that, is that, you're spouting these things out. And
because I don't want to spend all this time on it.
We've got a 3-hour show tonight, so, it's
so
not...
I can shelve anything else, right, until later.
It's not like you had to rush to the finish line to get all the stuff off your plate. The reason why they decided not to do the movie is because Bad Robot had promised them a certain amount of monies and going into the fourth one, and since something you probably don't realize is that Paramount can't finance a movie to save its life right now because they've alienated creditors. In fact, China has told Paramount that they're not funding any more movies of theirs. So they've had to go out and try to bring up the financing to the backers to support their movie. So with that said, is that Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pines were promised a certain dollar amount.
Well, Hemsworth's got bigger fish to fry.
And they could not deliver on the payout for them to be in this next movie. So once that started to dissolve, you had others in the cast ensemble decide, you know what, we're not going to do this. So... And then a lot of people ask, okay, well, what does that lead Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek?
That's the next one. It's the Paramount's leadership in other Star Trek movies with the Tarantino has been developing a movie since 2017 with Revenant writer Mark L. Smith handling the screenplay. And there hasn't been much headway on the project. But they're saying Paramount may have decided it would be best to have only one Trek film on the table for the time being, rather than 2 in the pipeline. So maybe they just killed it because the new leadership are under Paramount.
Because ultimately what's going to happen is CBS and Paramount are going to merge back together.
Think so?
Yes. I really, there's a part of me that wishes they would sell the Star Trek franchise off to somebody else
that would care about it.
And I'm not saying selling it to
Don't sell
Disney.
it to Disney, no.
I think that there's a lot of possibilities to make money here, but under a different company that can respect the property and recognize what it's worth. And currently in the state it's in now, it cannot. Now, speaking of Star Trek, let's move into Star Trek Discovery. Because
I don't have my fingernail file here.
Because what you have here is you have the issue with the Bad Robot thing situation where, and the expiration of the licensing stuff. But ultimately, what you really have is this lawsuit that's going on about the video game maker who created this video game about using tardigrades to warp through space, and Star Trek Discovery ripped him off on this. Right now it's a current court case, and Paramount's trying to do left and right. Well, actually, I think it's CBS that's the one that's trying to say we thought of this first. And it's not looking good for them because they've got this lawsuit. And so what does that ultimately mean for this Discovery is that it could literally probably cancel that show. But hey,
really?
Yeah, don't feel bad because
I don't watch it.
Because there's still the Star Trek Picard series that's coming down the pipe.
No, I might glance at that.
And then there's the Star Trek animated series Lower Decks that's out there.
That one's supposed to be comedy. That's actually supposed to be comedy, so that might be good. So, have you said your say on that?
Well, the show is early, so
I just want to make sure you had all your points covered with Star Trek.
So far, that
4 cancellations.
So ultimately, what I'm saying here is that the cancellation of Star Trek 4 is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I'm not crying over it.
Ultimately, and truck fans, this is a good thing. Ultimately, you were going to hit rock bottom. Once it hits rock bottom, and then we can build from the ashes of what's been destroyed. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know how there's been this rumor about the Black Widow movie. I think they're going to go forward with it. I'm looking at a screenshot from when they introduced her, which is in one of the Iron Man movies. Was it Iron Man 2 or 3?
Her beautiful red hair.
When she had that long red wig, I'm like, put that wig back on her. That's perfect look.
I hate this blonde thing she's doing now.
I assume she did that because they all kind of had to go into hiding from the government, so she maybe went blonde so she wouldn't be, and then Captain America did the beard. So they're probably trying to be in disguise,
Whenever I think of Scarlett Johansson, I think that she's at her best with the beautiful red hair.
Well, I think she's naturally blonde, but so you get this. They're considering making her movie rated R.
Well, okay.
Isn't that interesting?
That's not a bad thing.
So they're keeping quiet about their whole Phase 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Black Widow is expected maybe possibly to release next year, 2020. Can you believe that there's going to be a year 2020? I thought I'd been dead for ages by now. So Kate Shortland, who I've never heard of, might be the director. So traditionally when you have a female directing another female, it does seem to work out pretty good. I'm not saying that's the law or anything, but there's very little known about the plot, but I'm assuming this has got to be her origin story, right? Which seems like it's fascinating. It seems like she grew up in some kind of training camp where they messed her up mentally and physically. So, working for the Red Room, how hot-blooded her ledger is. She says her ledger has a lot of red in it, meaning she's probably spilled a lot of blood. So, Marvel considering making it their first R-rated MCU film. And it seems kind of unlikely given their family-friendly focus. And now that Disney owns it.
Their first rated R, wouldn't Logan have been their... Or no,
they didn't have it yet. They didn't have that officially. At the same time, though, there's been recent movement on this. Disney wants the Deadpool franchise to continue after the Fox acquisition, which may be a game changer. There's also speculation Marvel could choose to launch a new brand called Marvel Max or Marvel Knights, Knights.
Did you say Marvel Max?
Mm-hmm.
Marvel Skinamax or whatever?
I don't know about that. It could be her story needs an R rating because it's just that messed up.
Probably.
She was recruited as an assassin when she was 8 or 9 years old. And in 1998, the teenage killer earned a fearsome reputation, attracting the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D., who initially sent Hawkeye to kill her and end her career. Hawkeye, perhaps shaken by her youth, because she was a teen, decided she wasn't beyond redemption and decided to get her to abandon Red Room and join S.H.I.E.L.D. So, doesn't that sound fascinating already? Yes, no?
I'm sold on it.
Okay.
It's Scarlett Johansson. I'm sold.
The other pop culture news that absolutely shocked me, because I don't know if I've just been out there or I've just heard no rumors about this. Listen to this. Eddie Murphy officially returning for Coming to America 2. I didn't know there was going to be a Coming to America 2.
I wonder if Arsenio will be in it.
But what a freaking classic movie Coming to America is. It was released in 1998. It's one of those great 80s movies. He starred as an African prince who comes to the United States to sow his wild oats, but he's disguised himself as a commoner and ends up meeting the woman he really wants to marry, but he hides his identity from her. And of course his parents are like, you can't do that. And he brings over his best friend, Simi, which is played by Arsenio Hall. And I love most of Arsenio Hall's acting is through his eyeballs in that movie, if you recall. And I love about this movie is that they play more than one role. They play some other roles because they're heavily in makeup. And I think Arsenio plays a woman. Eddie Murphy plays an older Jewish barber. He also plays a evangelistic minister, kind of looks like Rick James in a way, sexual chocolate. But there's going to be a 2, and I almost wish this wasn't going to happen, because it's not going to be anything like the original. So coming, long delayed sequel to Coming to America. It was reported Eddie Murphy himself was working on the script, though the tweet that triggered this report later was said not to have been authorized by Murphy. So later, the director, Jonathan Levine, had been tapped to direct the film. He had directed Warm Bodies, which I like. And there was this other person doing a script. So it was indeed in development last year. And they said this during CinemaCon. But now it looks like Murphy will return as Prince Akeem. It's also being reported that there's some other people on board with the script, that rewriting a previous draft is what they're doing right now. So this is a second collaboration between Murphy and this writer named Brewer. But the sequel story will see Murphy's Akeem learning about his long-lost son and coming back to America to meet this newly discovered heir to the throne of Zamunda. So producers want to bring back the full original cast. I think one of them may have passed away, though. Arsenio Hall, Shari Headley, as Akeem's love interest, Lisa McDowell, the young sister of, John Amos, James Earl Jones as Akeem's father.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those guys are still around. There's no confirmation that those people have, decided to come on board. But Murphy's also donned makeup to play the array of characters like the varying talking ethnicities in the barbershop. It remains to be seen if they're going to bring back any of those characters, or if it will be Randy Watson, the singer, soul band Sexual Chocolate, But I'll keep an eye on that. If they get some updates and I find them, we'll talk about it on upcoming shows.
Cool.
So, I don't know much about AirPlay, which is, I think, an Apple thing, but I do know about VLC. I love VLC, Video LAN Player. It's going to be able to support AirPlay now. 2 milestones that they say. Video LAN is going to add AirPlay support, which will transmit videos from your iPhone to their Apple TV, which we don't have. Update could be pretty soon. The second milestone is that it's closing in on 3 billion user downloads for VLC. That's a lot of downloads. So kudos to them. I've been using VLC for quite some time, and it's wonderful. It's free. It will play just about any media file out there. That's what I love about it. And I know we're coming up against a break here, so.
Well, let's go ahead and take it, Surlana.
I'll go ahead and connect to stuff while we're doing that.
All right, so, hey, thank you for joining the most popular program considered by Space Cadets. That's Spaceboy Universe, so don't go anywhere.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
This is author Jordan Root. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
This is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai DeLille. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
All right. We're back.
Yes, we are back.
Do you need to take care of business over there while I fill the airwaves?
What business do I need to do?
The chat thing that we were talking about?
I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if it shouldn't bother your login, I don't think, if I can recall.
No, but the sooner you take care of that issue, the better. All right. So while I'm talking on the mic and speaking of the chat room, apparently a lot of people are liking the chat room, and that's all good.
One said having two chats is distracting, and I'm like, well, maybe you're just going to have to pick one.
Well, you know, chew some gum, rub your stomach.
Because we're in both chats. I'm looking at both of them.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, everything when we were talking about Trek, people were right on top of it with their gifts.
With their gifts.
Yeah, and very, very funny stuff. I love this interaction.
I like them.
So, but I bring up chat because I want to make sure people that are listening understand that about our harassment policy in our chat. You know, we're pretty easygoing and everybody enjoys doing their thing, but don't be a moron and try to be, I guess, disrespectful to the other chatters in the room.
Our policies are directly below the embedded chat. See the chat window that says, see our chat rules? That explains everything. If you click that, if you do any of those things we say not to do, you're getting banned. And I can't ban forever. But if you keep coming back, you keep violating, I just keep banning and banning and banning and banning until I report you to somebody. So, yeah. Just play by the rules, and everybody's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
But anyway, yeah, I just want to make sure people understand that just because we have this new chat thing, you know, the many rules that we had set up before in the other chat room, you know, we're going to enforce those. We strive to keep a nice environment for all our space cadets to come to, so they don't feel harassed or, you know, picked on or whatever. And I will come down on you like a bag of hammers if necessary. So, because I have a protection when it comes to our space cadets, I want them to come, have a good time, chat, and, you know, that's the whole point, is we're hanging out, we're a family, and it's all good. Well, it looks like I got disconnected there for a second.
That might be me. I'm not trying to do that to you, in case.
No problem.
I just don't understand why I can't get back to, you know.
Anyway, behave yourselves. I mean, I don't want to have to bump you out of the chat room because you're antagonizing somebody or making somebody feel uncomfortable. That is not what our chat room is for. It's to be very interactive with the show and have a good time. And if people are being harassed and not having a good time, it frustrates me because I'm having to play clean up in the chat room. So there you go. So that's what I have to say on that issue. You still working it out?
Yeah. I think I have to be logged in as you. So I don't want to bump you out of your chat. I have to be logged in.
Do you have
can you click on your own name in the chat and see if there is a chat preferences? I don't know if that does it or not.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get when you go there?
Well, allow only friends to send you direct messages. Allow friends to see what chat you're on.
That's your chat preferences. I can't get to the preferences for the entire, you know. Anyway.
You know, if you need to bump me out, go ahead and do it, and I can always log in after you fix it.
Well, I'm logged in as you on the app's site, but I'm not finding the preps.
Is there something in the
preps are not there.
Support to remove that out of there?
Now it's open a ticket.
Well, if you open a ticket, it's got to be for two things. One, to remove it off that thing, and two,
settings, activate
to be able to post pictures.
Manage subscriptions.
So anyway, while Surlana is over there figuring something out, it's time to pull the old goat out. And it's been a while since we've had the goat here on the SBU. So, you know, I was reading a thing the other day, and there was this girl who had this, you know how you see these pictures where somebody puts up a picture of, you know, whatever grievances or whatever they're upset about in front. And apparently it was this young girl, must have been in her early 20s, and she said she had taken out all these loans for school, didn't have a job, and didn't have insurance, and was having to pay all these student loans back. And so what frustrated me about it was
the real world.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at, Surlana, is that, you know, you didn't have to take all these student loans out to go to school. In fact, you should have went to a trade school, or what did you call it, vocational school?
Vocational school, yeah. But maybe that's not what she wanted to do.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to take a page out of your book, Surlana, is we all can't do what we want to do. Sometimes we have to do, you know, eat crap to make a living and to support ourselves. That's a part of being an adult. And so, you know, I pointed out in this article, or this thing on this Facebook thing, is that, you know, Surlana took a job when she didn't have a job, just sweeping.
When I first moved here to Houston, I took any job.
She took any job. And, we all know Surlana is an English major. You have your bachelor's degree, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had a bachelor's degree, and I was sweeping gravel in a concrete fenced-in yard. I was cleaning out the men's bathroom at Bigelow Airspace. Mm-hmm. And I needed money. It didn't matter. I needed a new work history established here in Texas. I didn't care.
And then when I went back to college, I paid everything out of pocket. They had a payment plan. I didn't take any kind of loans or anything to get my degree. And I did it. I even worked while I was going back to school. So my advice to this young lady is get off your lazy tuckus and work and pay back whatever loans you took out because you wanted to free ride it through college and not have to work and stuff. So is it that bad over there?
I don't know how to get to my Spaceboy Universe mail from here.
You can't go to InMotion Hosting?
Don't say the name of it. Are you crazy?
Like a fox. Anyway, so long story short is that I think that the young generation has really lost its mind thinking that basket weaving is going to get them a nice, cushiony $80,000 a year job.
Man, if I could start over, there's so many things I could try to do now.
I think that the youth has really got it wrong, and part of the blame is their parents. I think it might be partly my Generation X's problem.
That's my generation.
Raising these kids that are today. What's so funny about that?
I don't know. They're just funny.
Well, the thing is, I used to blame my parents' generation for a lot of stuff because, they were hippies and flower power and all that stuff. And then they took over politics of what we're dealing with today. It's their generation that we're having a problem with now. And representative and,
sorry.
You ready to put that aside?
This is going to take everything that's
because the reality is that we addressed this before, and it was supposed to be taken care of, and
that's it. Just dress me down right on live.
Well, it's not the first time you hadn't done it for me, so.
I can leave. That's fine. I can just leave now. If you'd like. I got other issues I got to deal with. Or do you want me to just get into
I'd like to get into topics and stuff like that.
Well, stuff left over from the first 30 minutes, okay? There's evidence that Amazon is building a cloud gaming service. So, I don't know if that's maybe like Steam, maybe. I don't know. So it looks like Amazon wants to stream games to your home. Not the kind where you watch somebody play like Twitch. And by the way, they already own Twitch. Amazon does own Twitch. But they're talking about where you play games without waiting for a download or buying a disc. So I guess that's different from Xbox, PlayStation.
Streaming?
Yeah. No download. So they're going to run it on powerful servers that live far away from your house. And that is ambitious, assuming everybody's got the bandwidth and whatnot. So 2 independent sources have said Amazon's developing this, and it could launch as soon as next year. And if you know how they found out this stuff? Go to Amazon's job listing page where they're hiring 2 engineers in Seattle and California to work on cloud games. So that's always interesting, is you could find out more about what's going on in a company by their job opportunities. So they're also looking for an AI engineer who work with cloud experts to develop a never before seen kind of game. So they're saying I don't know what to make of Amazon. It seems like they're trying to be everything to everybody. You know, it used to be a place just to buy books. Remember back in the day?
There's a lot of money there. It's funny you bring up Amazon because apparently Jeff Bezos is getting divorced from his wife, which will take him from being the richest man in the world to the 5th richest person in the world, because his wife will be the 5th person too as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Surely. Oh, come on now. Surely that guy had a prenup.
Nope.
That's stupid.
Well, no. When they first got together, they didn't have money.
Oh, they've been together that long.
Mm-hmm. And they were going through a trial separation.
They were trying, huh?
Yeah. Don't get any ideas, Rolana.
You know what a trial separation would be for us? If one of us just stayed in a hotel for a week, that would be it. We're like, okay, come back. We're done with it. There wouldn't be much to it.
But yeah, I think she's going to come out with $79 billion.
You think that'll tide her over?
I think so.
How many bowls of ramen noodles can you get with $79 billion?
Quite a few.
Bob, go do the math on that, or K28. Find out how much the average bowl of ramen noodles is, and then...
well, it's like 32 cents.
So, well, that'll give our cadets something to do. But, the other thing I was going to tell you... Well, yeah, so they could get into cloud gaming. They're already gigantic in the cloud hosting, because we have Amazon Cloud, and I like it. It's been reliable. You can put an app on your phone and you'll say, hey, don't we have a document on XYZ, and if I put it on the cloud, I can link it to you in SMS chat, and you can just grab it because it's coming from, I don't have to log in. It's freaking cool. That part is great. Microsoft says they're going to have an xCloud gaming service.
$1.99 for a box of 12.
So how much would $80 million get you? How many?
Billion.
How many?
A lot.
It's a challenge for you, cadets.
Well,
and whatever you tell me, I'll accept, because I can't do math.
Bob says $1.99 for a box of 12, right? So take $2 and divide the 79 billion, right? Mm-hmm. So whatever 79 billion divided by 2 is. You got a calculator over there, Solana?
No, I don't. Sorry. I have the Windows calculator.
Well, that's a calculator, right?
Sometimes I question its ability to be accurate. I'll have to type in the word calculator. There it is. All right, so tell me the numbers again.
79 billion.
So 79.
Mm-hmm. Divided by 2.
2?
That's
39.5
billion ramen noodle packages.
How long would they last, I wonder?
Well, they last pretty long until you add water to them.
Okay, so they're in a sort of a stasis to you.
Yeah, they're in their stasis bag till you add water and flavor.
I'm laughing at one of our cadets just popped in our embedded chat and said they ran out to the pizza shop for pizza. And of course, the word shop is underlined, it's hyperlinked, and it's taking you to our
swag shop.
And it takes you to SBU merchandise.
Space swag.
I think that's funny. Oh, by the way, we'll be opening phone lines tonight. I don't know when, but we will do that. Let's see. What else was I going to tell you? The Fox Disney deal, by the way, is expected to close in March. So it's like, I can't believe how long these legal things take.
Because I had heard that they had done it, they've gotten it done early. Because, Kevin Feige is like all salivating over the X-Men property.
Well, and we heard that they may take all that Fox stuff and stick it on Hulu, where we won't see it. But
we have
they're
Hulu.
expected to close in early March.
You heard me, right?
Huh?
We have Hulu.
think we had Hulu.
Yeah, we have Hulu.
You're such a media whore. You can have it all.
I like to see it all.
It didn't take Disney long to buy them, but I guess the legalities of moving and
Well, I think the most interesting thing is, I don't know if you heard this news, but Comcast is having some layoffs.
Yeah, that's what they said here. Comcast drove the price of Fox up because they were in a bid war.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, they wouldn't have. What would have happened if they had acquired Fox after their
Might
layoffs?
have give them a little revitalization with their content, but ultimately, if they're going to be douches about everything,
this goes back to what I said. If you can't handle your own crap, then you need to stay out of
someone else's crap.
Yeah. But good thing that Disney held its own and went ahead and paid the little extra, and we'll see how it comes down. I know there's a lot of you had talked about the Alien property.
Yeah, it's a Fox property, right?
Yeah. Did you want to get into that next?
Well, no. I didn't really have anything for that. It was I didn't realize that there was going to be another Alien game.
Yes.
Have those traditionally been like PC and console releases?
Yeah, basically PC and console, and it was like I had described to you before, where the conference for Diablo and Blizzard, how they came out with a game for mobile instead of a game for console.
Yeah, people are really upset about when they say, "Oh, this is gonna be something big. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be huge." Oh, it's a mobile game, and people are like, "What? That's not big. That's not huge, and it's not what we wanted."
Yeah, so a lot of people are upset over the Alien Blackout game because they were really expecting the continuation of Ellen Ripley's daughter.
Yes,
because she was in the last one, Isolation.
How did Ellen have a daughter?
She had a daughter. Apparently, you didn't watch the Aliens movie.
All of them?
Well, Aliens is when you come in and she gets back to Earth and she goes,
had a life, huh?
She had a life. In fact, when she shipped out to go do this mining thing, she told her daughter she would be back after a certain amount of time. Well, that didn't happen because she was in stasis for over 80 years and found outside the traffic lanes, but they picked her up and showed a picture of her as an elderly woman. And but the games kind of focus on young. I can't think of her name, Ellen Ripley's daughter's name, but it'll come to me later.
Oh, the games actually. I've watched some of the big names play that last Alien game, and I guess it was a PC download as well. And it was like when the alien would show up and you have to hide, it would be like your heart would, I swear it's like your heart rate would go up. And so it was almost as upsetting as watching a movie.
Amanda Ripley is her daughter's name, Amanda. But the Alien Isolation game is...
That's it.
Based on her. So apparently like mother, like daughter.
What I didn't like about that game when I was watching somebody play it is if you suit up and you get out into this... out the airlock onto some external piece of the space station. Mm-hmm. Those suckers have no problem in the vacuum of space.
No.
They survive.
They survive, yes.
Like cockroaches. It's like you can't win. It doesn't seem fair, does it? But I'm sorry, I keep rolling over something here on the floor. So Fox TV and film divisions, when they were up for sale, they were only asking $54 billion, and then Comcast started bidding. So Disney won at $71 billion because Disney has MCU money. Mm-hmm. So that's where they're getting it from.
Yeah, you can't say they have Star Wars money because it's not been profitable.
So X-Men and Fantastic Four and them have been a Fox property. Does that mean Fox just went and bought the rights to the stories one time, but they're actually MCU comic book characters?
I think it has something to do with when Marvel was starting to hit rock bottom, and they needed money, so they sold the rights for.
So they were belonging to
kind of like Sony, how they sold the rights to
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Like, oh, we don't need this.
Spooderman. Yeah, so.
Adorable little Spooderman. Now, what I found out interesting is that the Kingsman film franchise is a comic book originally. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Disney also, you know what else they got? They got Kingsman, Alien, Home Alone, just to name a few, Deadpool. So it's going forward. But what we really want to know is we want to know about that Disney TV. And still, that's going to be way late this year. If
the Disney streaming service will be later this year that they start to launch it. In fact, I think they're going to launch it about the same time as the next Star Wars movie comes out.
Well, it looks like, and we're going to watch this when it comes available to Amazon or wherever, the Bumblebee movie, which is about the Bumblebee Transformer, more than meets the eye robots. Says Bumblebee is solidly profitable, says Viacom CEO, making a sequel likely. So I'm looking forward to watching that when it becomes available for streaming.
We'll watch it. But just to kind of backtrack here real quick, a lot of people were wondering what's the fate of the Alien franchise going to be.
Is there a fate?
Yeah, well, you had Vandy Camp and Alien.
Why can't you pronounce Blomp Camp? What's that?
Blomp Camp. Anyway, you had his vision of Alien 5, and then you have Ridley Scott.
Yeah, you're just being
cheeky.
Difficult on.
Well, I'm difficult because the Alien franchise was in a tizzy before the Fox merger deal with Disney, and now who knows where we're at with this whole mess and whether we're going to get another Alien movie. And so time will only tell, because at one point it was mentioned that we were going to get an Alien TV series.
I don't know how you can maintain that. I mean, because the CGI budget would be out through the roof.
Can have you seen what some of these films can do?
We could probably do the same thing if we just had access to talent
and
ambition and drive. Which
all right, so Surlana's giving me the fake. What?
I just look up and there's an animated GIF of a turkey on a man's head. So
okay, so. We've been given the sign that it's time to take the break, so let's take the break and we'll come right back.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Hey, Surlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe.
SpaceboyUniverse.com.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Boy, one of our space cadets would like to know, why did we decide to go an hour early tonight, just for tonight?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because what we're going to do at the end of the program is we're going to travel over to Solaris Blue Ribbon's program, who her guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV, who we just had on recently. And just to show our support and our love and our admiration to our mentor, that's why we're heading over there to be a part of her program. And she says she has a chat program out there.
I didn't see it, but oh well.
But I guess we'll see it when we get there. And even if there's not, we could still hang out here in the SBU chat while we're listening to her program. Mm-hmm. And I think Surlana will post a link to get to her program
as soon as I figure out everything about it.
So it's just kind of a hangout with the SBU crew kind of thing tonight.
Okay. And we're doing a real casual show tonight. Nothing's been prepped. I'm just kind of browsing around the internet. A lot of this has been pop culture heavy, but that's okay. That's one of our 6 topics that we talk about. Maybe we'll come back and do a history program next week, because we've said we wanted to space them out.
Actually, we have a guest next week.
Well, the week after, I mean.
And we probably have another.
That's a music thing, though. That's what's music and
pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, coming up in a few weeks, Awakening Man, as everybody knows him as, Eric.
Awakening Man.
Eric's going to come on the show with us. We'll talk about various topics out there in the fringe area, and maybe we'll talk a little bit of Stan Romanek. He's been on top of that story since kind of like day one, and I think he recently had a chance to talk to Stan, and so...
Mm-hmm. Now, we talked to the director of Extraordinary, which is Stan Romanek's story that is on...
J3 Films.
Yeah, of J3 Films. Stan Romanek's story, which is on... I think it's on Amazon, and it was on Netflix. John Sumple.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to talk to him right after all this stuff went down with Stan. So,
and my view on Stan hasn't really changed since day one.
Yeah,
it's still the same.
Stand by, that he's innocent. We kind of know a little bit of the backstory based on who we know.
There's stuff that's not been made public that we're aware of, and
it's that family's decision to keep it where it is. So.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to know about 11 TV spinoffs that are coming in 2019 this year, and 9 possibilities?
Excuse me.
Well, we know this one already. Number 20 is the Star Trek Picard spinoff.
Mm-hmm.
Exclusive to CBS All Access streaming, which you have. It's got some strong critical reaction, but it's found enough fans to warrant a second season, which will debut later this month. So I guess it's already out there. They've doubled down on this. It's Star Trek Productions, not only working on Discovery's second season, but creating this separate series will focus on the next generation, Jean-Luc Picard. As I sit here drinking Earl Grey tea, a possible spinoff will be something from Game of Thrones, which I don't care about. La la la. Coming for sure, Doom Patrol, and this is DC Universe stuff. Titans, and I guess this is, I'm seeing Borg, the cyborg dude, and I don't know who these other two. One of them looks like a mummy, or maybe it's like an Invisible Man, and the other one looks like the Tin Man on steroids. So I don't know who these are. Possible TV spinoff is Monsters Inc. I've not heard that. There's another I haven't heard of. Let's see. Possible something called Treadstone, which is part of the Jason Bourne universe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, coming for sure, America's Got Talent, the champions. So I'm so glad we don't have real TV. A possible Riverdale spawn-off, and that is something that's on Netflix, and I don't know anything about it. Which I know is the Archie universe, from the comic books. Comic books on TV seem to be doing very well. Adaptations, live action adaptations.
CW Network is just hitting.
And Netflix.
And Netflix.
Coming, something called Wizards Tales of Arcadia. This is from the Troll Hunters universe. Possible spin-off is something called Power. And that's something from Stars, I think. Coming, What We Do in the Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that's been out there for a while. And this is Taika Waititi. He's in it as one of the vampires. He was the guy who directed the second Guardians of the Galaxy. No, the third Thor movie, Ragnarok. That's why it was so funny. The spinoff is going to be called Wellington Paranormal, which was already released in his native New Zealand. It'll be adapted for the U.S., and that'll probably be on FX network. There's a possible another Walking Dead spinoff. I'm like, how many of these dead dudes are there? So, they're all going to die. Everybody's got to die eventually, right? And then fall apart, and where they're just bones. There's something called Second City, which is something from a series called Suits, which I don't know about. There's something called Sue in the City, which is a spinoff from a show called The Middle. There's something that is coming, LA's Finest, which is something coming out of the Bad Boys 3 universe. Strange. Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionists. And we know about this one, possible Loki spinoff from the MCU.
Which that'll be on the streaming service that comes out later this year.
This one's definitely coming, Mythbusters Jr. Coming, something called Schooled, and that's a spinoff from a show called The Goldbergs. Possible, this is number one, this is possible, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but The Mandalorian from the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in production.
So
Jeff Favreau, or what's his last? Is it
Jon Favreau?
Jon Favreau.
Who was in the first Iron Man.
He's been given the keys to that kingdom to make sure that it is done right. Well,
Favreau was in Iron Man, the first one, and he directed it. He plays Happy, I think, if I'm getting that right. So
you got it.
So there's a lot of TV news, big TV news I could tell you, but because we don't watch these shows, I'm not aware of them.
Well, you know that Netflix has been canceling a lot of the Marvel shows.
Because they're going to leave anyway.
Which is kind of funny because coming up here pretty soon, The Punisher is coming to, season 2 is coming to Netflix. And don't be surprised if you don't see Netflix turn right around and say, okay, the show has been canceled.
Well, there's a bunch of Star Wars projects coming out for this year. They're saying a television Rogue One spinoff, and I guess that would probably go to the streaming service. A game, Star Wars Jedi, The Fallen Order. That sounds kind of interesting. I don't know what that's about, The Fallen Order. You probably know that. The Clone Wars Season 7.
I think that's The Fallen Order is when Kathleen Kennedy finally gets fired.
Vader Immortal, a Star Wars virtual reality series. Strange. The Mandalorian, which is coming. Episode, let's see, 9? It's 1X. So if X is 10, and if the 1's in front, you minus the 10, it's 9, right? That's how Roman numerals work. But it does not have a title other than 9, right?
No, well, I guess we'll find out that
They're
title.
waiting to release the title?
The trailer, when the trailer comes out, then we'll get the name of the actual movie.
Okay.
It's been rumored that the trailer will be out with the Super Bowl.
Okay. Which is coming up pretty soon, right? Now, there might be a comic released here, or it's already been released, because we're past this date. Obi-Wan, Episode 1 comic. Another comic, Star Wars Age of the Republic, Jango Fett. Television, Star Wars Resistance, Season 1 finale, Episodes 12 through 14. Another comic, Star Wars Age of the Republic Special Number 1. Should be out in like a few days.
I'm so impressed you've got all this Star Wars stuff over there.
Well, I'm trying to keep you happy. Comics, Dr. Aphra, 28, 29, 30, and Star Wars Dr. Aphra, Volume 5. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sorry. More comics, Forces of Destiny, Cinestory, and Strength and Hope and Cinestory. A lot of comics. A comic about Anakin Skywalker, the first one. Comic Count Dooku, and I'm sorry, that sounds like a euphemism for going to the toilet. Why they named that guy that, I don't know. There's going to be a book release called The Queen's Shadow. That one, let's see, what's that about? A story of Padme changing from a queen to a senator. So that might actually... Comic Padme Amidala. This is the second one. That's different from the one I just mentioned. Okay, a comic Vader Dark Visions. Another comic graphic novel adaptations of Empire Strikes Back and Solo. And I don't know if this is the official artwork, but I'm loving the artwork on it. So, it's somewhere between anime and traditional illustration. Comic General Grievous, #1. More comics Grand Admiral Thrawn,
yes.
Star Wars Rebels Cinestory, and Ahsoka, a Star Wars Rebels Cinestory. A book, Star Wars Icons, Han Solo and ILM Making Solo. So put that right in the trash. Book, Master and Apprentice, which is going to be Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. Another book, Star Wars Alien Archive Species Guide. It's not as good as the one that's on YouTube, I bet. Another book, Alphabet Squadron. And #1 that's going to be released on July 23rd is a book called Thrawn Treason.
Yeah,
I haven't heard half of these people.
I'm looking for it. Thrawn, see, if you'd watched the Rebels, you would appreciate how great a character Thrawn is. He's
just not invested in Star Wars.
I mean, people go nuts, nut crazy because Thrawn was a part of the extended universe, and then they canceled all those books, but then they brought him back for Rebels, and it was a good series as Rebels ended up.
Well, that's a lot of Star Wars content.
It is.
And it would keep someone like you occupied all year long, I imagine. Now, I don't have it in front of me because I don't remember where I saw it, but the idiotic Bird Box Challenge continues.
Oh, yeah.
So you could speak about what Bird Box is, and the challenge is to try to get through a certain time of day blindfolded.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, spoilers. Bird Box, basically a movie on Netflix starring the beautiful and wonderful Sandra Bullock. And during this movie, people had to wear blindfolds because if they didn't, the monsters would make them do things and kill themselves. And so what people are doing, just like in the rich tradition that these young, stupid people do, by eating Tide Pods and taking gulps of cinnamon to prove...
Teaspoons of cinnamon. Yeah, kill yourself.
Yeah, it's like they're wanting to kill themselves. But anyway, so what people have been doing is putting the blindfolds on and try to maneuver through the world with this blindfold on. So some stupid girl didn't put a blindfold on. She put a beanie in front of her eyes so she couldn't see. And what happened was she took out a few cars. And so, you know...
It's like that comedian says, you can't fix stupid. You can't, put bubble wrap around everybody. And this is evolution's way of thinning the herd. If you're that dumb, we don't need you. I'm sorry, that's harsh, but there's no shred of common sense that says, don't cover your eyes and get behind a car and drive. I mean, that's got to be worse than drunk driving. So... I was like, if you see it on TV, then it's okay to do. I thought we had grown up past that point, but oh well. Like I said, I don't have that in front of me, but I saw it, I think on social media somewhere earlier, and I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. But somebody actually did it, so. Anyway, to fill in more time, something I did a while back, and there's just never been a place to slot this in our show. But looks like tonight's a good night for this type of thing. I compiled a bunch of top 5 lists and one top 10 list. And mostly these are my top 5 movies from certain decades. And what I liked about doing that is, I had to go to like IMDb to find out, do I like any old movies? And it turns out, yes, I do. And I just didn't realize what year they came out. So I said, well, let me start with 1950. I don't want to go crazy. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I've seen movies from the 40s, but those are all going to be World War II stuff. So when I started in the 1950s, and I thought, well, do I even like any movies from the 1950s? And sure enough, one of the ones I liked was named the greatest comedy film of all time. And I'll tell you what it is, but starting at the bottom of the list, I don't know, I have this 1, 2, 3, 4. I have To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm not sure why I have that crossed out. That should have been
Gregory,
in the 50s,
Gregory
right?
Peck. Mm-hmm.
Let me check. No, that is actually 62. That might be why I crossed it out. So I didn't have a 5. So my fourth one was The Quiet Man with John Wayne. That is such a wonderful movie. He's a fighter. He accidentally kills a man in the ring. He decides to go back to Ireland to look into his roots because his family comes from Ireland. His mom came from there.
I'm going to let you finish this list, but my number 1 movie of 1950 would be Sunset Boulevard.
Really?
Yes.
That's an odd choice for you.
No, it's a good movie. It's a film noir, and
it came out in 1950?
In the 50s.
IMDb. That's where you get it.
It is, did you've already, 1950, exactly. Yeah. Just a couple other movies.
Was it black and white?
Yes. Well, yeah, it was black and white. It's the infamous line that says, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. 2 other movies, Destination Moon, and Cinderella came out in the 50s.
It's Disney?
Yeah.
Well, so I have The Quiet Man, and then my number 3 would be Rear Window from 1954.
Well, that's a good movie.
That's a Hitchcock movie.
Mm-hmm.
My second favorite from the 50s is Mr. Roberts in 1955, and that's
Fonda.
Yeah, I just
what is it?
Comedy / kind of
Henry
sad.
Fonda.
Yeah, but is that the one where the captain has his palm tree and he throws it overboard, and it's just isn't Jack Lemmon in that too?
I believe so.
And of course, my number 1 ends up being the number 1 comedy of all time, Some Like It Hot, from 1959, starring Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, and who's Jamie Lee Curtis's father? Tony Curtis.
Now, I did say Sunset Boulevard, right?
Yes, was your favorite.
But what ranks right up there is one of my all-time submarine favorite movies, and that's Run Silent, Run Deep with Burt Lancaster and Clark Gable.
Well, you love submarine movies.
I don't know. It's just it's just those kind of movies are interesting.
But would you ever get on a working submarine?
I had to say the F no.
But why do you like submarine movies? Do you like the tenseness of this little
the drama
capsule? They can't get out. And,
it's
is it like a disaster movie?
Submarine movies are like space movies and spaceships.
Really?
Because think about it, you're in an environment that once you're outside the spaceship, you can't breathe or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'll die pretty much instantly.
Yeah, because you won't be able to get to the surface in time.
And so basically most spaceship movies have that naval mentality of rank and how certain things are.
Star Trek is based on naval order and rank.
So I guess that's what appeals to me about submarine movies. Even like the movie Das Boot. Not necessarily from this time period, the 50s, but anyway,
it comes in later. I think.
Yeah, 2 of my favorite movies from that time period.
Well, from the 60s, I was like, gosh, the 60s are so not my generation. There couldn't possibly be something from the 1960s that I liked in movies. Well, this is what the internet is for, and you find out from Internet Movie Database. So
there's a lot of good movies.
So
in the
going
60s.
from 5 to 1, my number 5, let's see, 1, 2, okay, all right. I'm cheating. I'm going to cheat a little bit here.
Okay.
So my 5th favorite movie is The Producers from 1967, the original one.
It's a good movie.
Now, number 4 is a tie. I ran the numbers and I crunched the statistics, and it's a tie. Mary Poppins and My Fair Lady, 1964, both. Number 3 is a big one. It's actually maybe almost tied. Let's see. Number 3 is 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968, and that is like a, let's say Metropolis is the great-great-great-grandfather. This would be the great-great-grandfather of sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
For number 2, there's another tie. To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962, and The Sound of Music, 1965. I couldn't differentiate. But I think my favorite, and this is going to come as no shock to Spaceboy from the 60s, because he just recently bought it for me over Christmas break, is The Party, starring Peter Sellers from 1968. And we were talking about how if they tried to do that movie now, it would get absolutely clobbered for being, I guess, cultural appropriation on stuff. But it's a classic, so just get over it. So I actually do like some movies from the 60s, because The Party is really the only one that you can really see it's rooted in that time period as far as the music and the way people are dressed and they act. The rest of them are kind of taken out of time. Like, I don't think To Kill a Mockingbird was set in the 60s. I think it was set a little earlier.
No, definitely earlier.
Definitely earlier.
Probably turn of the century. Maybe
so, because the racial tensions there. But not that they didn't have in the 60s. Surely they blew up in the 60s. But yeah, I was like, I do like older movies, and I couldn't believe I had this many on my list. So, the 70s.
Before you go to the 70s, I just want
sorry, you have some?
I just want to point out a few good movies that are just taken from the 60s. You've got Dr. Strangelove. You got Psycho, Rosemary's Baby. Of course, James Bond. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Spartacus. And
that's what Bob just mentioned, Spartacus.
Lawrence of Arabia. Oh, that's a classic right there. And Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I mean, those are a few that are just off.
You liked those? Yeah.
The Escape. That was a good one, too.
You're more well-rounded with movie watching than I am.
Night of the Living Dead. The original black and white one.
Yes. Romero, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Bob likes beach movies from the 60s. Yeah.
And that... what's her last name? I'm going to butcher it.
Annette Funicello?
Funicello, yeah.
And what was her guy's name? I can't think. Bob probably knows. A lot of Westerns, Katz points out.
Yes. The Wild Bunch is another good Western.
Actually, you could break that out and just put top 5 Westerns. That'd probably be the better way to do that. But
Liberty Valance with Jimmy Stewart.
Okay. Well, we're pretty close to a break. Do you want to cut it right here and come back? We'll finish up with a few more of these.
Yes. Let's see here. Find my console here and prime that. Okay, all right. So when we come back, we'll find out what army was awaiting Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid when they came out of the villa.
I should watch that movie.
It's a good movie.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt and Bot vs. Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship. where your challenger, Goodbot, will face the reigning champion, Badbot. You're terminated. Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production.
You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
And we're back. I hope y'all are enjoying our 1 hour ahead of time special broadcast so we can go check out Solaris's broadcast right after this one ends, because we wanted to, maybe participate or Please get in the chat.
Show
Maybe
our
we'll
support.
call in. I don't know. We don't want to interrupt her show too much, but she's going to have on Robert W. Sullivan IV on her show. We just had him last week. We enjoyed him a lot, so we wanted to show our support by, somehow listening and interacting on Solaris' show tonight, which will, when our show ends, hers begins. So, and that is going to be over on Freedom Slips, Revolution Radio. Studio A is what he's going to be on at midnight Pacific time, right? So that's why we're a little bit earlier tonight. So, and remember, you can chat with us live in our Spreaker chat where we broadcast from Spreaker, or you can join us over in our embedded web chat on our website, spaceboyuniverse.com. Click on the SBU chat in the menu, and you can, if you want to, you don't have to, but we're watching both chats. You can have a little bit more fun on the embedded one because you can post, animated GIFs, links. Supposed to be able to do photos. I don't know why, but I'll have to be having a conversation with the app that runs this. But some people like it. You don't have to get in both. If you can only focus on one at a time, we understand. We're watching both. We're engaging on both. So anyway, didn't have a lot of time to prep for this week's show, but we've got some things coming up for you, as Spaceboy said, next week and the week after. So, because I never had anywhere to stick this in, I had made these top 5 lists, and I've had them for a while, and I wrote them down by hand in a notebook, and the notebook has traveled all over our house, and I keep losing it, finding it. Finally found it again tonight. So, we just did our top 5 movies from the 50s, and the 60s.
Oh, by the way, the answer to the question that I gave.
Yes, what was that?
The Bolivian Army is Butch and Sundance. Jaunt out. The whole Bolivian Army is out there in front of them. Of course, there's no denying the fact that they die at the end of the movie. But sorry, spoiler. But
that is what the Sundance Film Festival is named after, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Great movie, and you've never seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, you should check it out.
I know I should. There's a lot of classics that I need to watch strictly for educational purposes, I think. So we jump over into the 1970s. This is the decade where I came online. I was born. So starting at the bottom, number 5. Sorry, I'm actual piece of paper I'm rattling because I wrote this down. Number 5 from 1979, The Jerk, starring Steve Martin, which is a comedy classic. If you don't like that movie, I don't want to be your friend anymore.
The phone books are in.
The new phone books are here. So, my number 4 from 1977, which will make my husband happy, Star Wars, A New Hope. And let's see. I wrote these weird. Let's see. The next one I have is Patton from 1970.
No, I know you've seen that movie.
Yes, I actually liked it. I wanted to see more movies like that. My second one from 1977 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And my favorite movie from the 1970s, it is such a freaking classic. And most of my favorites are going to be comedies. From 1974, Young Frankenstein from Mel Brooks is just such a great movie. Do you have any 70s films you like?
Well, a lot of those are good 70s movies. I'm trying to think. You did not include Alien.
Because it's not my thing.
79 is when that came out.
I don't include things just because you like them. It's just not my opinion.
Well, you should.
Sorry about this. I have to move this cord.
Jaws.
I actually have that written down. Maybe I think it was tied with Star Wars.
You had Dirty Harry. You had, there's just lots of Apocalypse Now.
But I didn't see it, or I don't like it.
The French Connection, Chinatown.
Didn't see it.
Holy Grail.
Partially saw it.
Mighty Python, Animal House.
Didn't see it.
Grease.
Saw it, liked it for a long time, but I'm over it now.
Mad Max.
Didn't see it.
And of course, 70s were kind of like the where they came out with the movies like Tower Inferno.
Oh, the disaster.
Movie. Poseidon Adventure. Good movies.
Not my cup of tea.
And then we all learned what Soylent Green was.
Soylent Green is people.
It's people, I tell you.
It's like Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, so, a lot of good ones. And then, of course, the 70s, you had the Kung Fu movies that came out. You had, Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. So there was just lots of good stuff. I mean, I could care less about the decade. Oh, and then who could forget... who could forget Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka? Or as I like to say, Gene Hackman.
Depending on what point in my life I'm talking about, this list would change, but here I'm sitting...
Oh, and Westworld came out too.
Yeah, here I'm sitting at age 46. Things are just different. I have a different perspective. Now, you're going to be upset with me because I skipped the 1980s because it's not fair. There is too much content to whittle it down to 5 or even top 10. What I would do for the 80s is I would go break that down by genre, like fantasy, sci-fi, comedy, drama, because there's too much there. That was when I did all my prime movie and TV watching because there was no internet back then. But here, I will mention some that I loved from the 1980s. Lady Hawk, 16 Candles, Back to the Future trilogy, The Terminator, Princess Bride, Airplane, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Trading Places, Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure. Sorry. Those were in no particular order. I'm sure you must have tons from the 80s as well.
Back to the Future, Aliens,
Mm-hmm.
just to name a few, The Goonies.
Oh, yeah. Now, back when that movie came out, I was all over it. I had the biggest crush on Sean Astin, who was the lead character in that film, because I was that same age, or roughly, or he was a little older than me. But yeah, so I would have said that would have been my favorite at that time in my life. But now I'm like, I'm over it. You got any more?
Let me think here. What about Poltergeist? That was a good movie.
I was too young to be watching stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just not my cup of tea. Are you looking at a list?
Well, I was trying to get my Freedom Slip stain on. A movie that defines my generation, The Breakfast Club.
Yes, that's a good one.
The infamous terrorist attack at the Nakatomi building in downtown L.A.
You talk about Die Hard.
Yes. The fact that, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that could have gone on here.
The Return of the Jedi. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Beverly Hills Cop.
See, there's too many. You can't narrow it down.
Blade Runner, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There is just too Weird Science. Airplane, Coming to America. Indiana Jones. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
As I mentioned.
The Thing.
See, that's why the 80s, we'd have to take that decade and break it up by subgenre because you can't categorize that.
Beetlejuice.
That must have been 89.
Flash Gordon. Yeah, 88.
Because it was way late.
Flash Gordon.
I don't care about that.
Top Gun.
Yeah, you could sit here all night and name stuff. But so the last list I have is something we're moving over to TV, but I only got so far as British comedies. My top 10 British comedies of all time, and some of these I'll have to explain to you because I bet you never heard of some of them. So I went 10 on this because there's no way I could leave out so many. There's just beloved. So, top 10 British TV shows of all time, for me, my personal list. Number 10 is a show that ran very short, as most British TV shows do. It's called The Two Ronnies. Ronnie Corbin and Ronnie Barker. They actually had the same first name. And it was two guys that had, it's a formula show. It's a sketch show. It's like they come out to a sketch together. The younger guy would have a little story time, and then they would do a sketch for the other guy. Then they'd do a sketch together, and then that's the show. So they would do together, two individuals, and then together again. And they would do some musical numbers that'd make you wet your pants. They were so funny. But it was like on that level of Carol Burnett show, that kind of like sketch comedy. It was the 70s, and it was on PBS when I was little, and my parents watched it. And for a little while, we could get the local PBS from Texas affiliate, because where I'm from is close to Texas, and we would get extra content that way. So it's an older show. It's near dear to my. You could probably put it in YouTube, and you could probably see some clips. The eyeglasses, where he goes in to this eyeglass shop to get new eyeglasses, is really hysterical. That one made my mother cry. She laughed so hard at that, the eyeglasses sketch. Number 9 is, of course, Monty Python's Flying Circus. Needs no explanation. Number 8 is The Young Ones. This came out in the maybe mid to late 80s, I believe, and was shown on MTV. And it was probably when MTV started branching out into content that was not music video, which ultimately led to its demise, unfortunately. But who wants to see music videos now? Have you seen what they do in those? So they used to be good and interesting and artistic. But The Young Ones was perfect because I was at that age. It was perfect timing because I was a teen, and it was down with the anarchy. They lived with a hippie. They lived with a cool guy. They lived with a guy who was against the establishment, and they lived with a punk rocker who was really stupid. So number 7 is something here it was called Good Neighbors, but over there it was called The Good Life. A guy's an architect. He gets burned out with his job. He quits his job and decides he's going to be one of these self-sustaining lifestyles. Now, this was the 70s. So his wife goes, okay, let's do it. And they decide to have a garden in their little backyard, these little townhome-looking places, in the middle of the city. And they try to be self-sustaining up against urban lifestyle. And they clash with their neighbors, but it's a comedy, and I enjoyed it as a kid. Number 6 is Blackadder. Now, Blackadder had 3 or 4 iterations. The one that I liked is the one that Hugh Laurie was in, where he played Prince George, the Prince Regent. But they're all good. They're classic. Number 5 is something we found more recently that I introduced Spaceboy to, is Black Books, from the same writer as Father Ted and It Crowd. Another Irish guy that drinks a lot, and he owns a bookstore. His name is Bernard Black, and hilarity ensues. That's the TV series that has Bill Bailey in it, who is a musical genius. And they have the episode where they're trying to impress their friends and whoever that they can play the piano, but they can't play the piano. So Bernard stuffs Bill Bailey's character into the grand piano, and Bill's inside the piano supposedly banging on the strings with spoons to make him look like he could play the piano. Number 4 is the classic Fawlty Towers, which is the John Cleese vehicle, which only had 2 quote-unquote seasons, maybe 6 episodes each, but each one is a gem. Each one is classic, and it can be appreciated. Now, Fawlty Towers was the reigning champion of British comedy for a long, long time, even by their standards, and it took a long time for it to come down. And I think I know what might have brought it down. My 3rd favorite British TV show is another.
You're going to go from that to another thing without explaining to the audience what brought it down?
Well, I'm not sure, but it's some of the more modern stuff. So my 3rd favorite is Red Dwarf. The classic Red Dwarf, like seasons 1 through 5. or series 1 through 5, because I actually have those on DVD. Set in the future, it is sci-fi comedy. There's a mining ship, and it's full of a crew. They're going to go mine stuff, and something happens, and the crew is decimated, except for one person who was in stasis, so they were not harmed. And the ship's computer brings back another crew member as a hologram.
I thought it was a radiation leak, and that's how Cat got mutated into it.
Yeah, there's a radiation leak. The guy was in stasis. Lister was in stasis. He was not harmed. Well, he didn't want Lister to be alone, so he brought back his roommate, Arnold Rimmer, who he ends up he hated when he was alive. But the ship's computer didn't know that. Ship's computer did not realize that the cat was in stasis with Lister. It got out, mutated, and it became sentient. So you have the character of Cat. He's got his little incisor teeth, but he acts like the human personification of a typical house cat. So, very good classic stuff. My number 2 second most favorite British TV show is Father Ted. Found this show early 2000s, back when BBC America was something you could actually watch and enjoy, before they changed it to where it was just unwatchable. This is back when we had cable.
How would you like a cup of tea, Father?
Why do they say no to a cup of tea? Oh, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. It is set in Ireland. I call it British, but it is an Irish sitcom. It is about Father Ted Crilly, who something happened where Ted was banished to this fictitious island in Ireland.
Apparently he was holding money in his account.
Yes, no, but if you ask Ted, he's like, no, that money was just resting in his bank account before he moved it on. So he was sort of punished by being banished to this little nowhere craggy island, as it's called. And they stuck the world's dumbest human with him, Father Dougal Maguire. And they have to take care of this old decrepit priest, Father Jack Hackett, who only likes, what 3 things does he like?
I can't really say.
Well, he likes something starts with letter A, drink and girls. But that, if you're Catholic or if you're easily offended, don't watch the show. Just don't watch it. But if that doesn't bother you,
it's actually a really funny show.
You can watch most of these shows on most streaming services. Some of these you can find for free on YouTube if you're careful. But it's co-written by Arthur Matthews and what's his face?
Linehan?
Graham Linehan, yes. 2 Irish writers. Linehan co-wrote Black Books, and Linehan wrote completely number 1 on my list. But Father Ted is the crazy, over-the-top, on that level of Faulty Towers, where there's a lot of physical comedy, there's a lot of gag comedy, there's a lot of prop comedy, as well as, just speaking. We go back and revisit that frequently. I want to say I knew about it, and I introduced you to it, didn't I, Father Ted?
Yes.
Yeah, and you found your joy with it, too.
I took to a duck to water with that show. It was that good.
Yeah. So, number 1 is written by Graham Linehan completely, and that is the IT crowd, or IT crowd. He says he'll never write another show that can be spoken in 2 different ways, but the IT crowd is a play on how they're so not the IT crowd. It is about 2 guys that work in IT over in England in the basement of a multi-core business, and they get this woman put in charge of them as their manager who knows nothing about IT. And you say, oh, that's funny. But let me tell you something, people. I saw this happen for real. This happens for real. If you go in, you know your buzzwords, you can say the basics and pass the interview, you can get hired as a manager with no experience and not knowing what you're doing. And that's what she did. She said buzzwords because the manager was not as knowledgeable as her. But it is a freaking hilarious show. Absolutely love it. What's the catchphrase? What's the catchphrase?
What have you tried? IT, have you tried turning it off and on again?
Hello, IT. That's how they answer the phone. Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Which I had to do today.
Are you from the past?
Are you from the past? Yes. Vicar of Dibley was another good show, but I didn't see enough episodes. I didn't have access to enough episodes to see them all.
Now, I noticed people in the chat have mentioned one that I enjoyed that you didn't really care for, and that is, Are You Being Served?
Oh, God, no.
Mrs. Slocum was just so funny. Oh, and, of course, the old series of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you notice mine are all comedies. I enjoyed that. Mostly just comedies, but...
Well, Are You Being Served is a comedy.
Yeah, but I did say TV shows. That could have been anything. Now, my parents, when I was growing up, they watched a lot of English dramas. And they also liked things like Poirot and, Agatha Christie and, things like that. But I just have such a deep affection for these 10 shows. And I'll go back and watch them over and over and over and over and over. So if you've never heard of some of these, go try to find them. They're worth your time. Yeah, so PBS used to be really good back in the day.
Even if you don't like all of them, you'll find at least one or two that you'll enjoy.
I'm trying to see what else they posted here. And like I said, I did watch some Vicar Dibley. I do like Dawn French, the girl who plays the vicar. She's hilarious. She was part of French and Saunders,
Speaking of the vicar thing, do you remember the blonde-headed woman in that show?
I don't know her name, but I know she
died this past year.
Yeah, I do know she passed away, unfortunately. She was like the airhead, but she was like a good friend to her, her little sidekick. But that was a good show. There were so many good shows that didn't quite make it because I didn't see every single episode. I would say that the ones that I mentioned, I've seen every episode, and I've seen it more than 4 times for each one because that's how much I was into it. And that's easy to do because most of these don't have that many seasons, as we call them, or series. They're very short. They like their quality over quantity, whereas here's we can crank out 12 to 24 episodes a season, and we'll give you 7 seasons, we'll give you 10 seasons, and we're like, maybe that's more than enough, so. Yeah, Black Books, Father Ted, and It Crowd. Those are like the 3 triumvirate with Graham Linehan. He is just too funny. Now, what's funny here is Community, which was on NBC for a while, which is written by Dan Harmon. There was an episode of Community that was directed by Richard Ayoade. Richard Ayoade played Maurice Moss on the It Crowd. They were going to try to do an American version of the It Crowd starring Joel McHale and Richard Ayoade. So there's this weird back and forth exchange of people between Harmon and Linehan. So I actually saw or listened to a podcast where Dan Harmon's, Harmontown, he had Graham Linehan on as a guest and interviewed him. They talked about this back and forth relationship between It Crowd and the cast of people he's used and the cast of people they've used. And so really interesting. So they've got this, they've got these ties together.
Yeah. When you see the updated version, the American version of the IT Crowd,
it always loses translation. Oh, but you know what? That might be a fascinating thing to talk about sometimes. Great, classic, successful American TV shows that are beloved that are actually based on British TV shows.
Sanford and Son?
Sanford and Son is based on something called Steptoe and Son. Let's see. There's some rumor that Maude was based on Fawlty Towers because of her attitude. Let me see. Let me type this in real quick.
While you're doing that, I was thinking of the pilot that I had seen for the IT Crowd for the U.S.
Oh, you did see it?
And one of the people that I didn't really like in that show was Rocky Carroll. Now, if you don't know this guy, and you know CSI, Navy CSI, then you recognize him in that show. But He played Denham.
Oh,
yeah,
Renham.
Well, they changed his name.
Renham Industries, yeah.
Denham.
Oh, that's stupid.
Denham.
That's dumb. Well, the House of Cards that's on Netflix is based on
a British
show called House of Cards. The Office, of course, the original shorter version, The Office with Ricky Gervais. Steptoe and Son, which was on from 1962 to 74, became Sanford and Son over here. The TV show, I think it's on Showtime, Shameless, is based off of Shameless from the UK. Let's see. They tried to do Broadchurch over here as Grace Point, but it didn't work out. Life on Mars is based on Life on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is it. Amanda's is B. Arthur. This was based on Fawlty Towers. B. Arthur's Back and Funnier Than Ever, and Amanda's Check In for Laughter is a short-lived.
I think the big problem when you take a good British show and you bring it here to America is that you got all the jack-offs over here in America that want to make it their own kind of show. And I watched a documentary recently on Red Dwarf and cool. How the Americans wanted to change certain things.
That was going to be an American pilot, but that tanked. Like, I'm glad those don't mess with good stuff. The
only interesting thing about that, Terry Farrell was going to be in that. Mm-hmm. I think she was going to play Kat. Yeah, I know you're giving me the signal. Yeah,
I'm just talking too much. Sorry.
No, it's fine. We're filling content. That's what I love. Fill some content. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Greetings, Space Cadets. Let's see what's in the sky tonight in the Spaceboy Universe. Tonight, in the eastern sky, we have Spaceboy Universe rising above the horizon in glorious splendor. And in the west, we can see Surlanus Majoris, which is visible at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, just below the K28 belt. So keep your eyes on the sky and listen to Spaceboy Universe.
I'm Solaris Blurvid, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Man, talk about the nick of time. We had to have an urgent restroom break during the break there, and I was just like, we barely made it back in the seat. Another British TV show that's wildly successful. They tried to do it here, was Absolutely Fabulous, and they were just going to call it Ab Fab.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to star Christian Johnson from Bird Rock from the Sun and some other person I've never heard of, Zoisa Mamet, something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that one kind of died in the water. You know, I always thought that Sybil was more on the level of Absolutely Fabulous. Sybil, starring Sybil Shepherd. It was a sitcom. I forget when it was on, but it starred, her best friend was Christine Baranski, and she's going through a nasty divorce, and they were kind of crazy and wild, a little bit like, the ladies from Ab Fab. I think that's the closest American analog we have to that show, because Sybil had 2 daughters instead of 1, and that she was but she was really kind of disconnected from her youngest daughter, because, that red-haired girl, she was, that was like the closest I thought that you could ever get to Ab Fab in America. There's a show here called Being Human, which is based on a UK Being Human. So it's just, there's a lot of shows that we get from over there. Sorry, I got distracted by something. Yeah, I'm looking at, oh, don't you dare play. I am looking at a screenshot of the It Crowd American version.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got Joel McHale holding a monitor, and there's Richard Ayoade, and I don't know who this dude is over here, and I don't know who that girl is over there. And there's a side-by-side of the 3 main characters.
Right.
There's just no replacing Richard Ayoade, if you'd ever seen him. Something I like to watch on YouTube, because it's there, is something called Big Fat Quiz of the Year. And they have them for, like, going back to 2000, whatever. And it's a quiz show, and it has B, C, D, and E list British celebrities and comedians. You got 2 on a team, and they ask different questions, and they answer
Sometimes
them.
They have Americans.
Sometimes they do have American comics on there. And usually they'll put Noel Fielding and Richard Ayoade, and Noel Fielding was in It Crowd for a bit as the guy that was stuffed in the server room, and they wouldn't let him out for some reason. So he's all pale and emo.
From goth to boss.
Goth to boss. So he was a goth, They will get on this panel show, Big Fat Quiz of the Year, and they're hilarious together because they are friends and they've worked together on many projects. Richard was on The Mighty Boosh, which was Noel Fielding's, show, his little child. I mean, that had a... I've tried to watch that. I'm thinking you must be taking some enhanced... some kind of enhanced substance to really enjoy that show. Trading Spaces, that was on TLC for a while. It was so big. That was based on something I did watch on BBC America, which I think the show of the same name, where friends or neighbors swap rooms, not the whole house, but like a room or 2 in your house, and you just trust that your friend or your relative is going to make this over.
There are some sad episodes with that particular show. There's
a few. Like I said, Shameless. This doesn't have any This doesn't have any. They tried to make Torchwood, an American continuation of Torchwood over here, but it did not work out. Apparently, Veep is an American version of something called In the Thick of It. Is that Peter Capaldi? I think that is in this other show. Coupling was kind of like the English version of Friends.
But with benefits?
Then you've got The Office. Of course, everybody knows about The Office.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking about the vintage ones, not the recent ones. I'm talking about, classic ones like, this seems like a stretch. Now, I've talked about Fawlty Towers. We all know Fawlty Towers. Basil Fawlty runs Fawlty Towers. It's a small little hotel on the seaside somewhere in England, and he's just frazzled. He's just like out. He's got patience. He's rude to the guests. His wife has him by the short hair. She keeps him in line, and wackiness ensues. Well, supposedly the classic powerhouse Cheers is loosely based or inspired by Fawlty Towers, because the people who created Cheers wanted to set it at an inn, just like John Cleese. But then they shifted it to a bar. And then at one point, they did bring in John Cleese as a guest star to sit at the bar. Of course, we mentioned Steptoe and Son, which became Sanford and Son. You wouldn't think they did this first, but All in the Family with Archie Bunker and Edith Bunker. That was based on a British show called Till Death Do Us Part. Three's Company was also an import based on an original British show called Man About the House. The Ropers, which is a spin-off of Three's Company, but still not original because that's based on something called George and Mildred from Britain. There was a show called Dear John, which I don't remember, but it was one of those blips, it starred Judd Hirsch. The original show over there was called Dear John. The Lucy Arnaz show was based on a British show called Agony. Harry's Battles, which I don't remember, starred Dick Van Dyke. A Sharp Intake of Breath was the original. You Again, which is Jack Klugman and John Stamos. This must have been on for like 30 minutes and you never saw it again. Based on something called Home to Roost. I didn't know Dom DeLuise had a one-season wonder with a show called Lots of Luck, based on Off the Buses. Too Close for Comfort. Now, I did watch Too Close for Comfort, starring Ted Knight. That was a show called Keep It in the Family over there. So those are some of the classics based that you would know came from Britain. But I was going to tell you here. Okay, I've lost my train of thought. You got anything to say?
No, I didn't know when the train was going to end with all
Sorry
the
about
British. I mean, clearly, you're a big fan of British TV,
yes,
which is funny because you actually put down a book to watch some of these things, and
thank God you have the sensibility and the intelligence and the sense of humor to appreciate a lot of these. And some of them you found on your own before I ever met you. Because if you couldn't appreciate some of these, I really don't know how this marriage would work. Because, like, you love Father Ted. The reason you and I love It Crowd is because you work in IT, and I did work in IT. I did IT support. I did your job for a year and a half and burned out real quick. I'm still technically in IT, you would say, because I work with web.
Yeah, but you're not handling help desk issues.
Occasionally I do. Not on your level. Occasionally somebody will. My questions I get are usually to do with Word, Microsoft Word, and when I fix it or I like trying to print a special way or doing this and that and the other, and when I do it for them, it's like I've performed a miracle. So it's very satisfying when I do help people like that. Because to me, it's small potatoes. For them, it's just like I've changed their outlook on life or something. So, hey, look who's in our Spreaker chat.
Is it who I think it is?
Look. It's Dave Cruz. If that's the Dave Cruz we know. Could be just a guy called Dave Cruz. No, that looks like Dave Cruz, and it says he's a host, so I bet it's the real Dave Cruz. When would you like to...
I already put the phone number in there, so...
Well, let's look. All right, so, yeah, hey, the phone lines are open. Did we tell you all that? Dead air. Okay. The phone number is 833-202... 7286. That is
86. I thought it was 96.
It's never been 96. Where do you get this from? Spell out SBUN on your
SBUN
in numbers on your phone, please. And by the way, that number is toll free. Don't forget, you can chat with us live on Spreaker.
And you're sure it's 96, right?
Would you stop it?
What?
833-202-7286. Because 7286 spells out SBUN. That's why you picked it. And that's why you're frustrating me.
Surlana, it's like I was saying, it's 833-202-7286.
And thank God we have a caller.
Okay.
Hello. Are you there?
Hello.
Oh, God, we need you more than ever, Bev.
Your marriage counselor has arrived.
He's making me crazy, Bev.
I'm not making her crazy. She's already nuts.
Hey, I know what you're talking about. It's been 32 years of craziness for me. Did you hear Bob in the background?
Yeah.
Hey, I was fine. I was totally sane till I married Bob. No.
Yeah,
I love you, honey.
It's a different world after you get married.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is a different world.
But I wouldn't trade him for the world.
Surlana won't say that.
Well, no, I wouldn't trade because I don't know if that would be a fair trade either way, but I feel like, you know what, we're here, we're locked into this, let's see it through till we're dead. I'm committed to it. So.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I mean, we're pretty much committed after 32 years. I'm free. No, you're not. Oh, see what I put up with?
So, the question I have for you, Bev, is how are you enjoying the new chat area?
Let me tell you, Bev's gift game is strong. Woo! Go ahead.
What?
Your gift game is strong, Bev. Go ahead. I talked over you. Go ahead, Bev.
I love it.
And you didn't have to get
I love doing the...
You didn't have to create a Google account to do it, didn't you?
I didn't have to... Oh, yeah, I did last week have to create a Google account.
No, you don't have to create a Google account for anything.
Oh, I got a Google... Okay. No, I didn't. I don't know. Oh, God. Bob set it up for me, so I have no clue. Bob's the geek of the family. He's a computer whiz. He says I know enough just to make me dangerous.
So did he call you Cinderella, or is that something you called yourself?
I just thought of it. That was my favorite movie when I was a kid. Not the cartoon movie, the regular movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
how is it in Ohio tonight?
Cold. It's probably about 20 degrees now. Is it still snowing, babe? We're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches. Yippee. Gotta love Ohio.
So we've talked about many things tonight, Bev. Anything you want to put your
opinion on?
Oh. Well, okay. How about your movies of the 90s? What's your favorite ones?
I think I skipped the 90s. Did I get the 90s?
Yeah, you did.
I think I just ran out of steam. I'll find a list while y'all talk.
While you're thinking of that, Surlana, Bev, you put us on the spot. So, what are some of your '90s movies?
I think Dirty Dancing came out in the 90s, late 90s.
I think that's 89. That's right at the end of the 80s.
89, yeah.
Okay, I found a list. I found a list of 90s movies, but I don't see anything on here I like.
The Matrix.
Okay, let's
Forrest Gump.
Nah,
Didn't see
Forrest Gump was great. I couldn't get into the Matrix. I couldn't understand
Matrix.
that.
Okay, that would be one for me. Matrix.
Titanic.
Didn't see it. Don't want to see it.
Yeah, we didn't go to the movies a whole lot for the
Terminator 2.
T2. Yeah.
Terminator 2.
Groundhog Day.
You must be looking at ranker.com.
Groundhog Day. That was a good one.
Fifth Element.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
Fifth Element would be my number one for the 90s.
The Lion King.
Home Alone was in the 90s? It was 1990.
Home Alone was in the 90s?
1990.
I didn't know that.
The Shawshank Redemption.
Didn't see it.
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
The Big Lebowski.
Saw it, didn't like it. Beauty and the Beast, Disney.
So tell me, Clarice, did you enjoy The Silence of the Lambs?
I like Beauty and the Beast.
Toy Story 2. Dances with Wolves.
We didn't see that one. What was that one?
Dances with Wolves.
Pretty Woman.
Oh, I don't
12
think
Monkeys.
we saw that one.
Total Recall was in the 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Independence Day. True Lies. True Lies was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
True Lies was very good. It's 1994.
Independence Day was in the 90s?
Mm-hmm. Office Space.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. What a classic. Office Space by Mike Judge. The same guy who brought us Beavis and Butthead.
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
I don't like Beavis and Butthead.
I did.
Armageddon.
Men in Black.
Oh, Armageddon, yeah. Men in Black.
My Cousin
Armageddon.
Vinny.
What's that one?
The Iron Giant.
With the, Apocalypse Now, or Apocalypse?
That's
that
older.
was earlier?
That's older.
Oh.
Friday.
Oh, well.
Train Spotting, Boys from the Hood, Dust on
Friday 13th?
No, Friday.
Just Friday. That's Ice Cube and what's his face in it. Liar, Liar,
Jurassic
Army
Park,
of Darkness.
Men in Black.
I said that. Sleepless in Seattle.
Never Been Kissed.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
I think that's right.
That was a good one.
Back to the Future 3 came out in 1990.
Now, Bob, I don't know if you're listening.
God.
Bob, if you're listening, Jurassic Park is being referred by Bev as the place where she's going to put you once you reach a certain age.
Okay, this is my second. I'm going to rank this as my second favorite, yeah.
What, you can get yourself in trouble? I don't need to help you?
Oh, me? No. I don't need no help. I get myself in trouble. Oh, God.
I love this.
See, I'm trying to think of some other.
My second favorite 1990s
Bob says
movie.
I believe it.
This is going as number 2 is Clueless because it is an adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma. So it'd be Fifth Element and then Clueless.
Edward Scissorhands.
I don't care about that one.
I didn't know Fifth Element was in the 90s.
90s.
Oh, wow. Wow.
There's a lot here. I don't care about The Wedding Singer. That was actually a good one.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this based on an old book, 10 Things I Hate About You?
No, it's based on Shakespeare,
That's
The Taming of the Shrew. It's a play, not a book, dear.
Well, didn't he put it into a book?
You. Well, it gets written down and put in compilations in a book, but he didn't make a book, no. But points to you for knowing it was based on something, so.
Still, you took me down, and yet at the same time...
I need to watch Dark City. It was 1998. I've not seen Dark City. Mm-hmm.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, they're saying it was like... What's that movie that was huge? Inception before Inception. Yeah, yeah. So Gremlins 2 came out in the 90s.
Really? I didn't know that.
Arachnophobia. Pleasantville.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I had a hard time watching that movie because I am deathly afraid of spiders. I see a spider and I scream for Bob, no matter how big it is.
Well, I'm okay with spiders of most sizes. I'm fine with it. The problem I have with them, Bev, is when I'm driving to work and it's still dark outside, and I'm driving along by myself to work, and suddenly a spider appears before me, dangling from the ceiling of my vehicle. I'm like, look, dude, I don't have a problem with you in theory, but I don't need you on my body while I'm driving because I will kill us both. That's the only time I can't take it.
I would rule.
That would have totaled it.
I would have.
How are you, Bob?
I'm doing good. Hey, I wanted to say Wayne's World was another movie, and we saw Alice Cooper in Toledo.
Yeah.
It was the first time he played there in years, but when he come out on stage, the whole crowd all of a sudden went, "We're not worthy! We're not worthy!" It was excellent.
That was the Cooper and
that was Ted Nugent's.
Funny thing about Alice Cooper is that I've seen him where he's done a concert and then like that next day he goes out golfing. He likes to golf.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it's just just the oddest thing with him and his makeup and stuff, but just wearing a casual everyday khakis and shirt and doing some golfing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was back in the 80s, 70s or 80s. He went clean.
Mm-hmm.
So he no longer does anything.
Oh, wow.
I was killing him. So
well, yeah.
He had to.
Well, back then, I mean, that was a big thing with rock stars. Doing coke and heroin and...
It was the 70s.
Well, this thing was they had to have Budweiser and I forget what else. It was in his contract.
Oh, jeez.
There's a lot of movies that were classics that came out. Contact, Pleasantville. Let's see.
Contact was a good movie.
My
yeah,
Girl,
it was.
Gattaca.
That's where if you definitely listen to Art Bell's show, You Want to Take a Ride. That's where that comes from. Is Contact.
Pump Up the Volume. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that movie.
Man, I used to love his bumper music. That Indian music he played.
Mm-hmm.
The blues.
Cusco?
Yeah, one that we didn't mention was
I don't know who you're pointing your finger. I have no idea.
First Encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Close Encounters.
Close Encounters.
Yeah, right. That was in the
70s.
That was early. We mentioned that.
Movie.
We did mention
70s.
that.
70s.
It was the 70s.
Yeah.
That was in my
I
top
love
5.
that movie.
If I didn't mention it, it's because I didn't like it or I didn't see it. These were my personal top 5s, not what the world thinks. So I don't care what anyone
I
thinks.
had so many in the 60s and 70s. I had so many favorites.
Star Trek Voyager. Voyage Home.
The Voyage
That's
Home.
my
That's a
all-time
good
favorite
one.
Movie.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we I gotta tell you this. We went and seen it at the theater, but before we went, with this brother, we smoked a doobie.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was, we went to the drive-in.
Yeah, at the drive-in. And I'll tell you what, that's always been my all-time favorite Star Trek movie.
That was a good one because it had humor and it had relatable things from the time period that it was in. So,
and of course, Bev was in an elevated mind frame when she saw it. So
yeah, I'm sure it would have had a completely different take when you're in a different state.
Shoot, we forgot to mention Cheech and Chong in the 70s. What the heck, man?
Yeah. But what was that one? Mary Sister Elephant? Something like that?
Sister Mary Elephant.
Sister Mary Elephant. See, my brain has to work. And
that was on a record, not in a movie.
I'm getting a goosebump on my forehead, honey.
And a little bit more for Santa Claus, and a little bit more for Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all
I miss hearing that on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Class?
No, I don't miss that. I don't miss that.
Oh, God.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'm getting the angry producer face over here about this.
I just said it's break time. I'm not angry or anything. Somebody's got to be paying attention.
It's evil eye.
Well, as always, you know we love you guys.
Guys.
Hey, we love you guys.
No, I had to jump in and say about Alice Cooper, man. That was great.
No, it's always good to hear
Y'all
from you.
have a good one.
All right, Bob.
Bye.
Bye, Bev.
Love you guys.
Give Dino a hug.
To the moon and back again.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Bev was smoking the reefer?
I know.
What is the world coming to?
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Get your game on Spaceboy Universe. Level up with Spaceboy Universe. No quarters, no problems. Play it at Spaceboy Universe.
listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
All right, as Europe would sing on their song, it's the final countdown until we're out of here, and we're journeying over to give our support to our good friend of the show, Solaris Blue Raven. And we are encouraging everybody to come with us and hang out with us as we listen to her do her interview with Robert Sullivan IV, which we interviewed this past week.
Yes.
Yes, Surlana? Uh-huh.
Yes. Sorry, I got mesmerized by the GIFs in our embedded chat on our website. So.
I know, it's so easy to get wrapped up in that.
Yeah, so we're up to there. Like I said, Bev's gift game is strong. I mean, she is on point.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find you some more interesting things, but I may have... I don't know how I missed doing the 90s movies. Surely I wrote that down somewhere. Interesting. Alex Kurtzman wants Star Trek franchise to appeal to more children. I guess you could say Star Wars appeals to more children than Star Trek does.
Well, Star Trek was meant for an older... Well, I'll take that back because I think that Star Trek inspired me to go into various tech field things. And, I wanted to be Spock, science officer on the Enterprise. That was my big thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to say. Kurtzman is...
He's one of the ones that actually care about it, I guess. Oh, let's see. What's this about? Listen to this. Project Blue Book review. History's UFO drama almost scratches that X-Files itch. Let's see.
I've heard a lot about it. I've seen previews to it, and I'm going to probably break down at some point and start watching it.
Robert Zemeckis. Let's see. That's Back to the Future guy, isn't it?
Yes.
This fall, Zemeckis produced the NBC Lost wannabe Manifest. It wasn't very good. It became a ratings hit. Another project he was happy to drop, Zemeckis' name, was the History's UFO period drama Project Blue Book, starring Game of Thrones' Aidan Gillen as Dr. Alan Hynek, the astrophysicist who finds himself moonlighting with the Air Force in an effort to discredit so-called extraterrestrial encounters. And let's see. This series is scripted drama whose narrative origins are close enough to being historical, quote unquote, that it can be comfortably slotted into the network's lineup. So it's more like, I guess, a reenactment in a way, but scripted.
Yes.
So historical fiction series, Project Blue Book, hews closer to fiction than history, but given the success the network had with Vikings, which was fictional, it was a ratings hit, making the Knights Templar saga Nightfall a potential successor. It's not too much of a surprise they can get out of their comfort zone and tell a story that's a little bit more contemporary. This is heading toward the X-Files genre. It involves investigations into UFOs, little green men, and government conspiracies. So it does so under the idea that they're saying this is actual case files from the government's exploration of strange phenomena. Now, this is the first time I'm hearing of this. So the notion that this series is using reality as a starting point gives it some weight, but it's also kind of a hindrance once the overarching story really gets cooking and Dr. Hynek is faced with the evidence of not only the existence of intelligent life, but the vast governmental conspiracy designed to bury each and every counter, even if it means crafting elaborate explanations or making witnesses disappear, which is harsh, right? That's kind of the ugly truth of it, if it's true. So they want to have their cake and eat it too, but but done in it, they want to like say this is historical, but they want to entertain you too. So can you do both?
Right.
But it's entertaining enough to kind of get away with it. They're saying it'll disappoint X-Files revivalists, but history says they're going to take advantage of all the UFO conspiracy stuff that makes shows like this enticing, but without narrative baggage. I guess it centers around Dr. Alan Hynek.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I had a conversation with Jim Bray earlier, a good friend of the show, of The Outer Rim, and he was talking about how the show is pretty decent. It's kind of slow as it starts up, but once it gets into it, you will not be disappointed.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the first time I've heard of this, but it's not entirely smooth sailing for the series. The premiere struggles mightily with the pilot cliches. So it sounds like they're trying to do one of their historic reenactments, but they're also so desperate to entertain you that they can't focus. Maybe that the lack of focus is harming it. So, as you know, we're going to find out how Nick Fury loses his eye in Captain Marvel. That's what they say. Show exactly what happens to Nick Fury. I don't know if anybody's looking forward to that, but
it's probably from one of the Kree.
Mm-hmm. And we know that Captain Marvel, she can time travel, and that's confirmed by Samuel L. Jackson. So did that show you like Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Did it move from Fox to NBC?
Yes.
So that means they're having some success, huh?
Yes.
I will continue to not watch it. I know that's something you like, so we got things are looking great for.
That's why I didn't bring it up, because
things are looking great for Star Wars as far as content. Not so much for Star Trek, even though we do have those streaming things coming out of streaming. Here's something else you care about. The Orville Season 2 sees ratings drop to series low.
I'm not too worried about that.
Not too worried.
Because it's a great show. And if it's dropping any ratings, it's because of people like you that just don't want to give it a chance.
Oh, thanks a lot. Let's put it all on me.
Yes, because you automatically think because it's got Seth MacFarlane in it, oh, it's a Family Guy knockoff, and I don't really care for him. I hope he fails. And so...
Yeah, I don't like him. I want him to be sad.
The fact of the matter is that it's got Trek people that are in the show, mm-hmm. and that are behind the scenes writing for the show, and so it is the most Star Trek television show that's out there.
That's not Star Trek. Yeah.
It's not Star Trek. When you watch Star Trek, like Next Gen, it's bright, it's colorful, it's vibrant. Even the old series, it's colorful, it's vibrant. Mm-hmm. You look at
color has meaning.
You look at Discovery. It's dark. It's depressing.
It's gritty. It's that gritty reboot.
It's your kind of show. It's depressing. It's like no hope for the future.
What shows do I watch that are depressing?
No hope for the future. Give
Have
up
I
now.
ever sat down and watched a depressing show with you? Would you say that Better Call Saul is depressing?
Look, any woman who will laugh at her husband because he starts bleeding from his forehead. You gotta love that.
I don't know why that was funny, but let me try to break it down.
No, there's no need to break it down.
You're sitting there speaking like you are very casually, very calmly, and there's just this dot of blood, won't stop. I mean, we're talking about a little dot of blood from a scratched boo-boo, like a pimple or something, but it won't stop, and you're just dabbing, and you're dabbing, and you're dabbing.
What does it matter?
I don't know why, but it was funny, and I will sit here and I will laugh. I'll be alone in an elevator and I'll think about it and I'll start laughing. I mean, I don't know what it is about you and your forehead bleeding that is just freaking hilarious to me. Oh, there goes the Orville gifts. Mm-hmm. I guess you're doing that.
So is Bob. I'm sure Bob enjoys the show.
Says Star Trek Discovery will see Spock reconcile with his human and Vulcan sides. Is that Spock the guy with the...
You mean Millennial Spock?
Mm-hmm.
With the man bun?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's just another reason not to watch that.
But the point is that with the Orville, you know, Orville could easily be a Star Trek show. And everything you love about Star Trek is in the Orville.
You know I'm not going to watch it for no other reason than to just upset you.
You're not going to watch it because you're spiteful and you don't want to.
You can't say that because one time I did do something. I went and watched Breaking Bad because I was interested in it because you were watching it and I had to be in your world. Sometimes I have to be in the same room where you're watching something and I have to figure out how to block it. Well, the few times that I saw it, and I knew what it was about because I'd heard about the summary of Breaking Bad. And I was like, okay, you've got a high school chemistry teacher who's down, kind of like down on his luck, gets cancer. He knows he's going to go into great debt, got a baby on the way, doesn't want to be a burden to his family, decides he'll cook meth, ends up cooking meth better than anyone's ever cooked meth, and becomes a drug lord, changes his personality. And then there's all this other stuff. I'm like, now that's an original story I've never heard before. So I started watching season 1. You found out and made me stop. So you wanted to, even though you'd already seen everything, and it was still on the air at the time. It was getting close to the end. And so I have changed my mind about some things. Now we have a caller here. Let's see. Are you there, caller?
Yes, it's Dino.
Yes.
Hey, Dino.
At last.
I just had to call in. I wasn't going to call, but when I heard that Surlana has never seen the Orville, you will love that show, Surlana.
I can't
It's everything
stand
Spaceboy
Seth
said and
MacFarlane. I can't stand his face. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to hear him. I just can't stand him. I want to punch him.
Well, he cleaned up for this. He looks like a starship captain in this. He did well.
I know that he loves Star Trek. He was on an episode. He had a cameo in Star Trek Enterprise. I saw that. So I know he has a deep love and affection for Trek. And that's probably why he went out and made the show.
The thing is, he brought this idea to CBS. And what did Moonbutt do? He said, no, we don't want to do this. And so he took it to Fox, but just changed a few things. And now you've got this great show called The Orville. I mean, it is probably the closest thing to Star Trek that we have right now without being Star Trek.
Very high production value.
Exactly.
Very high. It's good quality.
Good stuff. This last episode was really good. It had a departure of one of the cast, and it kind of left me weepy at the end. But when I was watching it, it was like, this is Star Trek. I mean, while I was watching it. And even if you go to the first episode where Bortus had to go back to his homeworld because he had to pee, because his race only pees once a year. And it was funny, but it still kept it tasteful enough through the show that it was still an enjoyable show. I mean, even though it was about I guess it was a riff on Spock about being Palm Far and had to get his groove on every 7 years, and so. But yeah, I agree with you, Dino. This is a great show.
Well, that's the thing you had just mentioned. The thing that's the hook about that show, besides the excellent production value, I mean, they have a beautiful-looking starship, is that, a lot like a Big Bang Theory, there's a lot of inside humor that you have to be kind of hip to if you're into the genre of television science fiction, for example, or Star Wars. And while the original Star Trek and even Next Generation had some humor, it was kind of middle American humor, whereas I think The Orville is a much geekier show, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree with you, too. So you don't have to sell me on it. I try to sell Surlana, but even when we had our guest on, JP, who's a big fan of The Orville,
he was cool.
Still can't convince Surlana, even though I'll tune into his YouTube channel to see updates about the Orville and all that. There's just sometimes, when Surlana gets stubborn, there's just no way to convince her.
Well, Surlana, Surlana, you will love it because the first officer is the captain's former wife or something, and the first season it showed a lot of the hard feelings between them, which ended up, I think, I haven't seen every single episode, but it ended up being worked out somewhat because a lot of it was based on misconceptions on both their parts. And now she's a very good first officer, and she's very hot, too. I mean, I just personally find her, I mean, there are a lot of attractive women on Star Trek and all, but there's something, I don't know, down-to-earth about her, and she's believable as a commander, and yet there is humor there. And I missed last night, but the one last week even approached a gay topic in a really funny way, you know. I've been very amazed at the very good writing. Of course, it's got McFarlane's, wry humor sometimes, but as you said, it's just gotten better. I mean, everything about it is geeky, but funny in the way that Big Bang Theory is funny if you've taken a little astrophysics or paid attention in science class, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So try it, Surlana. That's all I would say. I mean, you may hate it. Try to get in there.
I won't do it just because it will irritate Spaceboy. I'll stay away from it. He had another show he felt just as passionately about.
What was that?
What's the name? It's a computer thing.
Computer thing.
Halt and Catch Fire.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm just not going to watch it just because it'll upset him.
See, she does things to be spiteful. And she
I thought I was miserable being a bachelor.
and it's things that I try to show her. I say, hey, this is a really good show. You should check it out. No, I choose not to.
Well, I'll look at it. I'll listen to him. I go, yeah, that sounds like not the type of thing I'm interested in. But I'm glad you found something.
Well, we're very bright people, all of us. And Surlana, you're well educated, and I've learned years ago you cannot convince someone of something when it's a matter of taste or aesthetics, because what I find good looking, I have a certain way I like people to look, but I realize, some people want to have a pin through their nose, and to them that's just the peach for them, And to me, we could go down the list, and a lot of these are prejudices or, as you said, Surlana, reactions to something bad you had or an experience with the person or the concept or the color or the type of fashion. And so, you can't push that. But I can be a bit stubborn, too, and on some things, which is good for some things. But once in a while, I've had someone, a girlfriend or someone, pull me into something. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. But I'll try it, just to see if what I said was confirmed. And that's all I'm saying. You never know. You might. The point is, it's not on that late at night. What's it, Friday nights? And,
we don't
it's an hour long.
We don't have regular TV, so he just, I guess you just buy the episodes as
I buy the episodes.
What? I told everybody, all you have to do is spend $100, go to antennasdirect.com, especially where you guys live. That's what I have. I get 100-something channels free, your local news and everything. It's over the air and it's high definition. You guys got to get that. Just point it toward your tower in Houston there, and you'll pick up for free. Just put it up out on your balcony or something. It's a real small antenna, but it's a figure 8. And then you can get that stuff for free and save more money, more money, more money.
That's good. I like that. I like the idea of that.
Yeah, no, I watch it on the Fox network here, which is free, and it comes in high def. And anyway, I don't owe anything to that company. There are other companies around, but 10 years ago I found them online. They're out of Missouri. They make everything right here, and they have customer service that'll even check before you buy. Just give them your address and zip code, and they'll look on a map to make sure you can pick up the signal over the air. It's America's airwaves. They belong to us. You don't need cable. You don't need. I mean, I do have Netflix, but I'm telling you. So anyway, and then I'm going to allow you people to go. I guess you started early, and I have many screeners to watch. Being a member of the Screen Actors Guild, I get sent a lot of these, and I only have 3 weeks, and I've watched a few recently that there's one I didn't even want to watch with, what's her name, Melissa McCarthy. I don't really care for her. She's talented, but I forced myself to watch the screener they sent me, and while I didn't like the subject matter, it was well done. That was an example, and then I vote on these. Yep. It was a good one. It's called "Can You Ever Forgive Me?" So it's a New Yorker's movie. But if you're into literature, I just know that Surlana will love that. But I have to destroy the screeners after I watch them. Otherwise, I'd send it to you. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember the good old days of working at Blockbuster. We'd get some screeners and saw lots of movies.
Oh, yeah. They closed the last DVD rental store, which I was shocked in my wealthy area, and they closed it last year. It was down here on the main show, and I was impressed. I go, man, you guys still have a video rental store here, but it went away. Now they have a red box out in front of the Safeway grocery store, and you can, I guess, get movies for $2 or something.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I haven't rented them.
Well, Dino, we appreciate you calling in. We're going to have to bug out now, so.
Yes, and it's on Fox tonight. By the way, no, I'm on the CW. That blue book thing. It's on tonight for free.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay. Nice talking to you guys. Keep up the good work. We'll see if any of your predictions from last week come through.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you, Dino. It's good to hear from you.
All right. So.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Dino. All right. So, have you put the information in the chat?
Where am I going to, like, their chat room?
Yeah. So put it in our chat room so our space cadets can head that way. Join us next week, my friends, when we'll have another exciting program of Spaceboy Universe. See you in the chat room.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Associate producer is Leanne Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Leanne K, K28, Dino, Solars Blue Raven, Patrick Sporer, Bob and Beverly N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Surlana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.